Welcome to the IT Career Energizer podcast. For anyone who wants to build and grow a career in IT, develop and improve your strengths and skills, be inspired and motivated by the successes of others, manage your career progression, and achieve your IT career goals. And now, your host, Phil Burgess.
Welcome to episode 296 of the IT Career Energizer podcast. My guest on today's show is a QA engineer. He's contributed to test automation on a variety of software projects, such as embedded systems, web services, and satellite communication software. So it's my pleasure to welcome to the podcast, Peter Johnson.
Hello, Phil. Thank you for the introduction.
So obviously that was pretty brief in terms of an introduction. So perhaps you could give us a bit of a flavour of your career and what you're currently up to.
Sure. Yeah, so I've been in testing and QA for about 10 years. It's actually 10th year back in March. So I've done quite a lot of stuff within that time frame. It's very long in terms of the types of projects I've worked on. So early back on in my career, I started out as a test technician working for a company called Anritsu. So they do telecoms equipment. And since then, I've worked on sort of cloud-based projects, web APIs, Speechmatics, where I worked on voice speech recognition software. And more recently, I'm back at ARM, so the semiconductor IP company, which powers quite a lot of the world's mobile phones and that kind of stuff.
Okay. In terms of projects as well, obviously we touched on the different areas. What areas are you focusing on right now?
So now it's all about the cloud, right? So recently I've just done certifications in AWS and really trying to utilize from moving away from on-premise hardware into the cloud. So a lot of companies are going through that sort of cycle and journey. And my work at the moment today is really to help with that. So yes, I'm doing QA. Yes, I'm writing tests and test automation frameworks and helping with the back-end code. But actually, it's also, what does our DevOps piece look like? When we are running new pipelines of tests, ideally we want to be running that in the cloud somewhere. And there's a lot of kind of work and to get that working.
Yeah. So how has that affected maybe the tools that you use? Has that changed dramatically over the last few years?
Immensely so. That's a really good question. So as I just mentioned, 10 years ago when I was working in those sort of organizations like Anritsu, everything was on-prem, right? We had rooms of IT equipment and racks and support staff to maintain that. Now we're using AWS. We're using tools like Cloud Foundation and Kubernetes, AWS command line tools, and to really deploy those EC2 instances and move away from on-premise hardware.
Sure. In terms of obviously you mentioned as well the frameworks that you're using for test automation. Is that something that's evolved as well over the last few years? So
I'm a big fan of Python. So big shout out to pybytes.es. Pybit.es. So absolutely great for sort of onboarding yourself with Python. And really the tooling with Python themselves has really, PyTest has been a big contributor to that and helped with writing test cases, and the plugin support that comes with PyTest really wasn't there originally, sort of like 10 years ago. So it's a lot easier to get up and running and get a framework built using these plugins.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure the PyBytes guys will be very happy to have that shout out. So I've had both of them on, Julian more recently, but yes, they're good couple of episodes and a couple of great guys to talk to about Python and all things PyBytes. Yeah. Great. Okay. So Peter, can you share with us a career tip, one that the audience may not be aware of and perhaps should be?
So one of my career tips is to set yourself a goal, and it has to be realistic. So that's the one thing I've done in my career, especially to become a NESTET. So a NESTET is a software development engineering test. So I had this sort of goal of becoming one and to have the skill set, the knowledge and the experience. And I think that's the one tip I would say is important. And a lot of people who don't set goals end up sort of going through their career mindless and letting other people sort of set goals for them. So I think it's nice to have a vision, right, that you intend to manifest.
Yeah, sure. I mean, in terms of goals and goal setting, obviously you set yourself effectively a target for a particular role or role type, and presumably you've set a time frame to actually achieve that particular goal. But do you go through a process maybe of assessing what that goal really looks like for you on a continuous basis?
That's a good question. So now I'm at the point where I've achieved my goal, and I'm now in a space of what does the next step look like? What's the next goal I'm looking like? So you can look at sort of 6 months, 12 months, and 3 years. And certainly in the 6 month period, it's kind of what skills do I want to sort of get up to speed with? And AWS certifications and doing that kind of stuff is good and helpful. But actually, it's looking at that 3 year plan of, you know, do you want to be a Python developer? Do you want to be, someone that's leading quality in an organization? And it's really kind of coming up with a plan to achieve that. So that's the mind space I'm in. But yeah.
Okay. It'd be interesting to know what happens the closer you get to that goal and whether you decide you need to establish a new goals. Because obviously, once you get there, what's the next step?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a continuous thing. It's something that you don't just do once in your career. You've got to continuously do it. And one of the things I found that's is useful is learning from failure as well and continuing to grow from that. So I've had quite a few failing points in my career, and actually I've learned more from failure than I have from success. And that's that's been useful. So failure could be things like, you didn't get that job you wanted, or you tried to start up a business and that didn't work, or that failed promotion possibly, and or a direction in your career which you didn't intend to take but you've taken, and it's put you in a position that you think is unfavorable. But those positions are the best points in your career where you can actually learn from, because they're learning opportunities to grow. And when things go smoothly and things are handed out, so to speak, on the plate, it's very easy to not really evaluate yourself and review your goals.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I'm always an advocate of the fact that failure gives you more opportunity to learn. Definitely. Right. Okay. So, Peter, can you share with us your worst IT career moment and what you learned from that experience?
Yeah, so I've been trying to think about this one because I haven't had huge disastrous moments in my career. So I haven't sort of been that guy that's accidentally deleted, a database table or something like that. So I guess for me, it was early in my career, it specifically around IT. I wasn't really sure where I wanted to work, so I ended up doing some IT support, and I really left testing and QA to go into IT support, and I think that really sort of changed my vision of what I wanted to do, because I really missed testing and QA, and I felt like I actually wanted to go back to it. So I felt like that was one of my down moments in my career where I left the industry, which actually turned out to be quite favourable for me. I enjoy, I'm passionate about, for actually going down a route where I just went down because I thought it was what people do in IT, right? And
Yeah. That's interesting because a lot of people will go the other way. So they'll move away from those sorts of roles into QA and testing and maybe into development and so forth. So, yeah. And of course, you learn from that anyway. You learn that wasn't necessarily for you. So there's a positive aspect to that.
Yes, indeed. So I think it made me realize what I wanted to achieve and to affirm my goal more so than kind of, stumbling through things. So I think that was quite useful.
Yes. Good. Okay. So let's move on to something a little bit more positive. So can you tell us about your career highlight to date?
I guess I had a career highlight tailor end of last year, actually, where some of the big top 4 tech companies in the world, gave me some offers to come and work for them. So that was very, I'm not going to mention their names, but, you can kind of imagine the kind of companies that are there. And that was a big highlight. So I had a choice of where to go. And having a choice, in your career is also nice, right? You don't always get those moments in your career. Sometimes external factors can influence, the decisions you have to make. Um, and yeah, that was definitely a career highlight. If I was to sneak in one more, it was achieving my STEC goal of becoming a developer in test. Um, Not so much because it was the position or the level or the grade, but because I sort of manifested the intention, right? And I think it was achieving that goal that really was a highlight for me personally, right?
Yes, no, that makes absolute sense. Yeah. So, Peter, what excites you about the future of the IT industry and careers in IT in particular?
Yeah, so IT in general is continuously changing, right? And we're continuously having to learn if you have a career in IT. And I think that's what's attracted me to IT initially. It was kind of, it's every day is a school day, right? You go in, the things you learn on your degree are immediately, some of those bits are out of date pretty much when you graduate, right? Maybe not so the fundamental technology and the fundamental concepts like algorithms, but some of the technology stacks that you use, will be out of date. So really what I like about IT is I have a lot of passion for learning and curiosity, and that's been driven by a career in IT. And I use that passion and curiosity in other ways as well. So I enjoy astronomy as well. So we kind of look at the sky and wonder what's happening there and with the universe. And there's a lot of curiosity with that. And I think I'm using that curiosity in IT, and that's what's attracted me to the industry.
Indeed. So, yes, I mean, it is a particular topic that comes up a lot in these interviews, the fact that because it's an evolving um, industry with technology changing all the time, there's that continual need to learn. And the fact that if you have curiosity, you've got a heightened desire to learn is definitely an advantage.
Yes, it sets the stage for continuous learning. And
Yes,
ironically, though, at the same time, some people don't like a career in IT because you have to do that. And it is quite a lot of work, I guess, to continuously having to develop yourself and learn new technologies, which didn't exist, say, 10 years ago.
yeah, no, very true. Okay, we're going to go into the reveal round now. We're going to find out a little bit more about you and the way you think. You ready for this?
Sure, yeah.
So, what first attracted you to a career in IT?
uh, I would say curiosity, the ability to apply learning, new learning, yeah.
And what's the best career advice you've ever received?
Back in sort of 10 years ago, 9 years ago, possibly, one of my bosses at the time said to me, you won't be able to be an engineer unless you know how to program and get a degree. Now, the reason that was good advice was because it really sets me up for thinking about testing and software, where before that, I wasn't really in that sort of mind space.
Okay, I mean, I probably challenge you on the get a degree aspect of it. I don't necessarily know or think that that's absolutely necessary, but I can understand why you may be given that advice.
Yes, I agree. I don't think it was it's necessary, but the advice that came out of that was, continue to study, continue to learn, and that's what I've taken from that, rather than the degree itself.
Indeed. Okay. And what is the worst career advice you've ever received?
I think someone's told me to get out of testing, and testing has no future. And I think I've heard that multiple times in the sort of 10 years I've been in
Uh
the
huh.
industry.
Yep.
I would say that's bad career advice because it depends what you think of as testing, right? What would you think of as QA? Actually, a lot of DevOps practices incorporate testing these days, and there's a lot of work to actually automate a system and program it um, deploy it, right? There's a lot of complexity there. So, and that complexity is not going away. It's just getting more and more complex. So more and more technical skills are required to achieve that.
Yep. And if you were to begin your IT career again in today's world, what would you do?
I think I would look very closely at machine learning and statistics and start off in that direction if I was to start today. Just because there's a lot of technology and possibilities and strategies in today's world which are focusing on that. So it's definitely a skill that's in demand, and it's a skill that um, everyone is utilizing in their solutions somewhere. So I think if you're not doing the infrastructure work like the QA and the DevOps, definitely go into sort of data science or that kind of field where you're looking at machine learning algorithms.
Yes. Okay. We've touched a little bit on the next question, but what are your current career objectives?
Yeah, so career objectives, I guess these are constantly changing, right? At the moment, it's really to become looking into leadership, so quality and leadership, and looking at how I can have more influence over that within larger organizations. So that's definitely one thing I'm looking at. The other thing is more the technical skills, so the cloud tooling that I've kind of alluded to, getting a good understanding of that.
Good. And what's the number one non-technical skill that has helped you in your career so far?
Yeah, so non-technical skills, I must say, I think they are very important in a career in technology, actually, because I think if you have the ability to be technical and also communicate, I think they marry very, very well in your career. And so my non-technical skill is a combination of sort of communication and empathy, if I had to pick two.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, communication is one that comes up a lot, and I had a similar conversation in the previous episode actually with my guest then, about the importance of it and how it works, and the benefits, in particularly around things like public speaking, and be able to get your ideas across to team members or stakeholders, whoever it might be. So yeah, I agree. Okay, and what do you do to keep your own career energized?
So I listen to podcasts like yours.
Yes, good.
Because I think it's good to hear different perspectives from our IT industry, and different roles that people do, and it also opens up new thoughts on opportunity that you may have not considered or overlooked. Apart from that, I'm a bit of a book fan, so behind me I've got loads of books, which you could say books go out of date just like the technology does, but at the time I'm reading, I do like to limit my screen time at the weekends. So it's an excuse of not being distracted. So when I'm going doing online training or anything on the computer, everyone's there's those tools which have specifically been designed to get my attention. So actually, reading a book sometimes just takes me away from that world and lets me focus just on what's on the page, right? And it also gives my eyes a bit of a rest. So I read loads of books, I listen to podcasts, and I just build small little projects to sort of try ideas and practice. And I think that's also important because you can read loads of books, but unless you actually practice, it doesn't really cement those ideas.
Yeah, I thought there's always the phrase that people come out with about knowledge being power. That's partly true, but I think more to the point is the fact that you need to use it to actually exercise the power. So, yeah. Okay, and we've touched on this slightly with the books, but what else do you do away from technology in your spare time?
Yeah, so you end up running out of time by the time you've read some books and you've worked a full week. So the rest of my time is really spent with my son, who's turning 2 on Monday, and so I'm looking forward to taking him to the zoo and spending some time.
Yes, yeah. When things open up again,
Yeah.
yes, I can imagine you've got plenty of things on your list of things to do.
Yes, yeah. And the other thing would be astronomy. So I do have a telescope, and when I get some time, I do try to look at some of the planets and the moon, and try to do some astrophotography. But that is
Yeah.
more rare these days.
I've got to ask the question, has that been better in the last 12 months?
Yes and no. So there is still quite a lot of light pollution, and you've got loads of sort of satellites which are still orbiting the Earth, like Starlink. So it depends what we mean by better. But generally, you can still get some parts of the night sky which are dark, and you can still get some good places around Cambridgeshire. It's not terrible, but there are other places where you can go real dark sky protected zones and sort of spend a week there taking some good pictures.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. Yes. Good. Okay. And can you share a parting piece of career advice with the IT Career Energizer audience?
Yeah, sure. I think it's going to be persistence is key. So when we start something new, whether that's a new passion, a new technology, or anything new really. I think there's always going to be sort of a honeymoon phase of it all sounds good, it all sounds exciting, but actually when the challenges come and you start to realize this isn't so easy and rosy and don't understand things, I think it's to really persist through that phase. So to take a break from it, come back to it with a different mindset, and just keep going, because I think that there reaches a point where you've crossed that peak, and actually it's a lot easier then.
Yes. Okay. And how can we find out more about you and connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm going to plug my website, which is peterintest.com, and on there you'll notice I've recently blogged about a ebook. So me and a bunch of testers from around the world have all contributed to this brand new ebook, and it's all done for charity. So we've all added our story into this ebook. It's called Testing Stories, and it's on my website, peterintest.com and developerintest.com. But it's essentially you can reach me there. You can also reach me on Twitter, peterintest, and on LinkedIn.
Great, excellent. Peter, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. It's been great chatting with you.
Thank you. Thanks, Phil.
Hi, Phil here again. Well, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with today's guest. You can find full show notes on the website at itcareerenergizer.com/e and the number of the episode you've been listening to. If you haven't already subscribed to the show, please make sure that you do, so that you get episodes automatically downloaded to your device every Monday. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.
Thanks for listening to the IT Career Energizer podcast. To find out more about building a successful career in IT, visit itcareerenergizer.com.